to honor Martin Luther King Jr. in honor of the deep commitment he made toward encouraging dialogue on race. We join these efforts in presenting this assembly toward today in memory of his past work and hope of future progress in our community and beyond.
This year, we are delighted to welcome the chorus, who is going to sing Peter, Paul, and Mary's Blowin' in the Wind. This song was sung at the March on Washington in 1963 when MLK gave his famous I Have a Dream speech.
Martin Luther King celebration in Portland. Before we announce the recipient of the Upper School Award this year, just to let you know that it's the hope of our committee that students see the prompt as an opportunity not only to win the award and to represent Waynflete at the dinner, but also to continue the conversation about race here at Waynflete.
In a quote from this year's winning essay, we must learn to be outspoken when we can provide a voice to those who are silenced, and to listen when our voices are too loud. This year's Spirit of Martin Luther King Jr. Award goes to Riley Mays, who wrote a very moving essay about the responsibilities of privilege. The book is The Fire This Time, A New Generation Speaks About Race by Jessamine Ward. Riley?
Last summer, he worked as an intern for National Public Radio and presented a short series of interviews and essays on being Muslim in Maine.
Today, Abakar is going to talk about what it was like when he, as a student at Waynflete, and we'll read a poem he has written about that describes how important yet complex dialogue can be. Please join me in welcoming Abakar.
Thanks for introducing me. And I would also like to thank members of RAW who have invited me to share my experiences at Waynfleet and at Maine Public Radio and beyond as we gather to commemorate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. And thank you all for having me. It's truly an honor to be here in front of you. It's great to be back. Over the past couple of days, I've been thinking about the message that I would like to impart. And as I thought about how to open this poem, it occurred to me what better way than with a poem. For those who don't know, I was the 2013 Poet Laureate, so I thought I might impress my past English teachers, showing them that I'm still writing poetry. I wrote this poem about a year ago, and part of the reason why I'm sharing it with you is not only because it will give you a better sense of who I am, but also it captures the complexities that exist in each and every one of us. I hope to give you a more nuanced perspective of me. I think that's something that's extremely important now more than ever. If I find the poem. Who am I? I am the product of martyred dreams and of insha'Allahs, and of parents who boarded the plane with wings that knifed through everything they ever knew. Of parents whose firm faith was the tourniquet that kept us together. I am the son of a woman whose honeyed interior radiates through the crinkle in her smile, and of a man whose calloused and blistered blue-collared fingers never forgot what tenderness was. I am the immigrant child with sunken eyes and swollen shoulders heavy with the weight of expectations and guilt and shame and fury that rages hot as the fumes from grandma's kettle. Caught in the crossfires of conflicting cultures and social classes, I breathe in adversity, opportunity, privilege, and prejudice, sometimes in the same breath. My Kushtic tongue, which dances to the Semitic sounds of my father's calls to prayer, sometimes slips up and swallows these Anglo words. I am never American enough, but ask my father, who sees less and less of himself in me with each passing day, and he would tell you otherwise. Don't forget your heritage, son, he reminds me. I'm Muslim, but not Muslim enough, black, but still trying to figure out where I fit in the American context. Poor in capital, but indulge in social and cultural privileges. I am a set of contradictions, always conflicted. My gender is the standard, the baseline, the center of all the stories we tell ourselves, about gods and prophets, kings and conquerors, victors and losers, and all the stories of our collective imagination. As a man, my human rights matter more. We are not equals. I am the inheritor of land, the first to get an education, and the head of the household. I am the politician, the priest, and the producer. I am the patriarchy. But even the wings of the patriarchy are clipped by white supremacy, which occupies our lands and our language, seeps into our consciousness, crawling the contours of our thighs, hips, chest, until, like a cancer, it consumes the entire body. It makes us hate our hue, plunders our people, and buries our histories beneath blizzards of anguish and apathy until it is forgotten like footsteps in the dead of winter. But I dig, frozen fingers I must dig, unearthing what I will. I think part of the reason why I shared this poem is because it illustrates how each one of us is a complex being with various identities that shape who we are and how we engage with others. Therefore, I believe it's critical that we get past our assumptions of others and take time to get to know others. And I find dialogue to be one of the best ways to do that. When I first arrived at Waynfleet, now more than 7 years ago, how I feel old, I remember that one of my favorite things about this community is that it strived to be open and inclusive. I appreciated that diversity and independent thinking were both values that were embraced. And I believe that Waynflete has been and continues to be a relatively open community. However, for my own experiences, there were times when those stated values would at times conflict. As we all know, Waynflete is Waynflete is a pretty liberal school, and I, having grown up in a relatively conservative Muslim household, held a set of beliefs and perspectives that did not always coincide with that of the majority. I remember finding myself in a number of different conversations with teachers and peers alike about the issues of the day, and while I did not agree with them, engaging in dialogue with those different from me allowed me to gain insight into a different perspective and grow as a person. Here at Waynflete, I learned the value of resisting our natural tendency of avoiding conflict. It's important that we have the capacity to listen, to hear ideas that make us uncomfortable, as challenging as that may be. I have drawn from my experiences at Waynflete to navigate issues that I've encountered since leaving this place, and all those experiences really put to the test this summer when I attended a massive Donald Trump rally in Portland as part of my internship. I was working for Maine Public Radio, and my job was to gather tape for the morning and evening shows. I must admit, I was pretty nervous. I mean, as a young black Muslim immigrant, what could possibly go wrong, right? In short, as I waited in line, I had to overcome what seemed to me as prevailing animosity towards people like me. Nevertheless, I did go to the rally. Before Trump arrived, I had the opportunity to talk to a number of his supporters who had traveled from various parts of Maine and had been in line for hours, eagerly waiting to pack Merrill Auditorium. I asked many questions about Trump's candidacy and the countless controversies, and I listened without objecting or interjecting. I was trying to understand the premise and the logic of their arguments. This was pretty difficult for me at first, but it was a very important exercise. And one of the things that I found was that on an interpersonal level, many of the people seemed like your regular, friendly Mainers that you come into contact with. I continued to engage with them, trying to make sense of what they were saying. Again, there were times where that was difficult. And one thing that I picked up on, once I put aside my assumptions, was an undercurrent of deeply entrenched fears, anxiety, and a sense of hopelessness, which is something that I found that I could also identify with. So when I left, I also wondered, what kind of an impact did I have on them? As my poem illustrates, people are driven by various factors, both hidden and apparent, and now more than ever, I believe that we should engage with those that are different from us. We must challenge them instead of only engaging those who validate our viewpoints. That's how we gain insight and grow as individuals, communities, and societies. For me, dialogue is a form of resistance. I want to create a society in which people who look like me don't have to live in fear. And whether that's writing about Muslims who have made Maine their home for Maine Public Radio, or about Islam, or blogging about Islamophobia in the Huffington Post, or just having a conversation with someone who has viewpoints different than me, I think it is important that I raise my voice in challenging discrimination in all its forms. I think we should all hold each other accountable and speak out in whatever capacity, whatever community that we are a part of. And that's why today I feel compelled to implore anyone with empathy and integrity to speak up against all against all forms of injustice, from Islamophobia to homophobia, racism to sexism. And I think we can only do that if we allow ourselves to engage with those who are different from us. And in the words of Martin Luther King, in the end we remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Thank you.